Hello everyone and welcome to the League of Europe Division 1 podcast. Of course, I'm not Mark, sadly, this week. I'm JimsHead14, your Division 1 commentator, going to be taking you through this podcast alongside two very special guests. First of all, we have Division 1 driver Daka. Say good evening.
Hello everyone, I'm excited to get this on, give my insight on the division, and yeah, it should be good, so let's get into things.
Yep, and we've also got Division 2 commentator, if I'm not mistaken, and Division 3 driver RJW as well here. Other way round. Well, we can't edit that out, sadly. Terrible.
That's fine.
Yeah, you can tell we're just a little bit nervous about this podcast. Goodness me. Anyways, first point that we want to bring across, it's just a bit of housekeeping really regarding some of the new drivers that have came into the league. So Lewis and Janel obviously quitting after the second round in Hungary. We do wish them well in their future endeavours, whatever they decide to do. So that means we have had to find two full-time drivers, and as I covered in the stream on Saturday, Marquez's is in the Red Bull. He's going to be replacing Lewis. And Janel was in the Racing Point. He's going to be replaced by Wouters. So that's just a bit of housekeeping to get out the way first. Do you think those two guys will be up there in the championship standings regarding who they're replacing? So Marquez is replacing Lewis, obviously, and Wouters replacing Janel. Do you think they're going to do a good job?
I believe so. I know Wouters, he did race in Bahrain, and he showed great pace because he was mixing it in with some of the top names in the division, so I think he has the potential and the pace to be right up there consistently challenging those top guys. And Marquez is he didn't race in Bahrain, but I know him from other leagues that he has a lot of pace, and although sometimes he fails to actually bring it to the track, a lot of the time he kind of just has good pace in time trial and can fade away in races, but no, he's also a very quick driver, so I think both of those guys will do very well, certainly.
Yeah, looking at the results from Bahrain, obviously, Wouters finishing 4th, getting 12 points, and he's in 9th position in the standings. And Marquez is still yet to score any points. Will that be a concern in terms of consistency going ahead into the rest of the season? Obviously, we know he has got a lot of pace. Can he transfer that to League of Europe Division 1, or will he end up with a TikTok on the clock and totally just bum things over in the season and get plenty of DNSs and DNFs?
Well,
I mean, yeah.
Oh, go on.
I mean, with Marquez, it's more very quick over on that, and his qualifying results speak for themselves. He's got an awful lot of pole positions, but I mean, he has got caught up in incidents over the years. I mean, yeah, consistency is a problem for him, and obviously with no points from, I think he's done the first two, but not Bahrain.
Yeah, he raced in Australia but hasn't attended the other two races.
Okay. Australia's a bit of an odd one anyway, so I mean, if he can, I mean, now that he's full time, he should worry about getting a seat. So if he turns up, should be on it.
Yeah, Daka, your opinion on it?
The thing is with Marquez is I hope, and I really hope, that he actually dedicates himself to the league, because I think he'd be a great addition to it. But yeah, obviously, now that he's got a full-time seat, he might, take things a bit more seriously, start turning up more, and start showing some consistency, I suppose, instead of just DNFing, and score some decent and just solid points all across the season. So I'm excited to see how he shapes up relative to the rest of these guys.
Yeah, of course, just looking at his results from the only race he's attended in Australia, he did qualify in 17th place, 1.8 seconds off Harrison David. That was on a set of medium compound tyres. So obviously, if he had the softs, I think we would clarify that he would have had a lot of pace and probably been up there in the top So maybe that result could have been a little bit different. As I say, yeah, I think Marquez is one of the quickest drivers on the grid over one lap. I think he just needs to carry that consistency and that pace from qualifying into the race, making sure that strategy is refined down as much as possible so he can get the best possible result in the race. And of course, China up and coming, it's going to be telling to see if he even attends in the first place, and then if he does attend, where is he going to finish? And speaking of China, we'll move on to that now. In fact, no, we're not. We're going to go back to Bahrain. And of course, last time out in Bahrain, if you weren't with us for that race, Rafa beat Harrison David. Montana finished in third. That top three, is that a sense of the championship battle that we've got going forward in League of Europe Division 1 with those three at the helm and everyone chasing on in behind?
I believe it could turn out that way. Obviously, it's those three that you mentioned. They have been the standouts so far. But there's other drivers out there that have faced the challenge. Like Jim, for example, has been in the fight in both the last two races and has just missed out through mistakes. So you can't rule out the chasing pack, I'd say, even if those three have looked to be the class of the field so far, because Jim, as I've said, has been up there. There's drivers like Wouters who impressed in the first race, Marquez's as well if he turns up to races. There's a lot of very quick and consistent drivers in the league that could take the fight to those three.
Yeah, RJ, what do you think about the top three currently? Harrison David obviously leading Montana by 3 points, I do believe, in the standings currently.
I mean, yeah, I mean, those three are not necessarily going to dominate every race, but they look the three that are heading towards the championship at the moment, because the problem is Zoom's been there, Bouter's been there, but could they just be a bit too far back? Only 3 races in to really make a title challenge. Everything can change, obviously, with a lot of wins. It's just a question, are they going to get those wins compared to the other guys and be able to catch up?
Yeah, it will be interesting to see, of course. As you say, Doom, very unlucky in the last 2 races, Hungary and Bahrain, both occasions spinning out of the race, which dramatically, I think Doom spun out, correct me if I'm wrong, but he spun out on the final lap in Hungary and about 4 laps from the end in Bahrain. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I don't believe it was on the last lap in Hungary, but either way, it was very close to the end of both races when he was in a really good fighting position.
Yeah, of course, and he's still in 7th in the championship standings at the minute. Of course, 15 points gained from that Australian race. He has got the pace, Doom. What about Cantera, though? Obviously, he's been missing. He missed last week's race in Bahrain. Hopefully, we'll see him back in China. Do you think he's got the might to challenge some of the likes of Harrison David, Montana, and Rafa?
I think he has. Well, he has shown, certainly from I've been close to him on track in both the first 2 races. He can get near them, but I'm not sure if he can as consistently. He's a bit up and down. In Hungary, he had an absolutely brilliant drive from near the back of the field to the podium after LoE got disqualified for something that went on in qualifying. But yeah, he's a guy that seems to be right up challenging one race and then being in the midfield the next. So yeah, I think on his day he can certainly take it to those guys, and I reckon he'll win a race at some point this season, but over the course of the whole season I'm not sure if he can match up with them.
Yeah, RJ, do you want to come in on that as well?
That's pretty much exactly what I thought about Cantera. When he's quick, he's nearly unbeatable. But when he's not particularly on his game, he just slips back a little bit, and that's probably what's going to throw him out the championship fight at the end. But obviously you can't sleep on him, and if he does get that consistency at every track, then he's right up there.
Yeah, obviously in Bahrain last time out, and just to come on to round off the top 5, Wouters and New Waluigi, who I thought was the big shock. He did qualify on pole last time out, Waluigi. That was on a set of super softs. Do you see him repeating that feat again in China, or do you think the strategies are going to be completely different in terms of the nature of the track especially?
From what I see, the strategy's pretty similar from China to Bahrain. It's a medium to hard kind of strategy, from what I've gathered at least. Neo Luigi, he may go for it again on the softs, just trying to get that grim position. And because that did end up working quite well for him. Well, I think he'd be the first person to admit that he's not exactly the quickest driver, but he's very consistent, and when he gets opportunities, he takes them. He won a race last season just by taking the opportunities. So, you know, he might try and do something different with the strategy again, and he might grab a pole position, but at the same time he might just go for the mediums, and in that case I think it's unlikely that he'd get pole. But yeah, obviously he proved at Bahrain he can look after his tyres well. We'll see if he can repeat that again in China.
Yeah, of course, tyre management going to be key in China, of course, similar to what Daka's just said about Bahrain as well. And to pick up on qualifying in Bahrain, a full second separating the top 14 out on track. That's how close it was in Bahrain. Is it going to be similar to China as well in terms of qualifying?
China, it's kind of, you either go one of two ways. You either sack the first or middle sectors and get really low downforce. You have really high downforce and sector. And I have a feeling that if a lot of people go for low downforce, it'll be really close. More people go towards high, it'll be great. There's not as much of a difference. So, like, they're all going to be struggling through that middle sector, and they're all going to. So, qualifying, it could be close again.
Yeah, of course. I think setup's going to be key in qualifying for China. Looking down in terms of Bahrain, anybody else want to pick up on anybody further down the field that they could do well in and transfer from Bahrain to China?
It's quite hard to say, to be honest. We're not exactly sure how it could go from track to track. You'd suspect that the usual faces would be up there, I'd suppose, but I'm just looking at the results now. I'd say watch out for I'm not sure actually. I've not really seen that, because China's a very different track to Bahrain. In terms of Bahrain is very tricky in terms of traction zones and braking zones. China, in my opinion, is like more about getting the right line through corners and just keeping it clean. So it's like a different driving style that could come into play at China. So really, you know, anyone could come out well, anyone could be near the back, I'd say. It's hard to really say.
Yeah, I think obviously... Oh, go on.
I was just going to add that you talked about traction cut zones, because Bahrain, very, very stop-start. Those with traction control at Bahrain will with those without traction control, probably have it a bit easier at Bahrain. Am I getting it the wrong way around? Wait, am I the right? I've confused myself.
China's the next round, obviously.
Yeah. They're completely opposite, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, obviously. Oh, go on.
Yeah. Because Bahrain stop-start, there's pretty much a lot of lines you can take. China's pretty much one line. And if you go off you're going to lose a lot of time. So it's very difficult to Bahrain.
Yeah, I think China, obviously, it is a bit of an elevation change track as well. Bahrain, not so much in terms of the elevation change. China, a little bit more excessive on the elevation change. So that could prove quite crucial as well, especially on the uphill run through turn 1 and turn 2. If you go wide there, you've got absolutely no chance of recovering the car, and you may as well let the whole field through, I think, because you'll stand a better chance getting through the field than you would going forward. But moving forward into China, obviously, this upcoming round for Division 1, and indeed for all other divisions as well. Rafa took the win last time out. Do you see him repeating that again, transferring that from Bahrain or China, or do you think somebody else is going to take the spoils in China?
I think that it could come down to those big three that we mentioned, but there's plenty of drivers that have the pace to challenge Rafa. Really benefited from getting himself in P2 in qualifying and jumping the Waluigi off the start. That just gave him that little bit of breathing space that he needed to help him out in that race. So there was a bit of good timing for Rafa, but really that's what it's going to come down to. You know, this division is so competitive, so many drivers are pretty much equal on pace, that, you know, little factors like that, you know, like a half a tenth in qualifying could just mean the difference between a first and a third place, you know? Like we saw in Bahrain, there was a lot of battling going on up that can, you know, a driver that maybe made a mistake in qualifying or lost positions at the start, you know, that could cost them several positions at the end of the race. So there's overall Rafa, obviously he's won last time out. He has his chance, certainly. He's shown to be one of the best, or one of the fastest drivers, certainly in Division 1. But you can't exactly rule anyone else out because it is just so close and competitive. So that's what makes this so exciting and a real race to look forward to.
RJ?
Yeah, no. I also think it's going to come down to the top 3 again. But I can't predict which way it's going to go because they're all pretty close. And actually, I'll give Harry the benefit of the doubt. One thing we said to him, well, he'll probably agree with this. One thing he had in the past was he's always had the pace, never had the consistency. And that put him out of a lot of title battles in the old side of the league that I'm not going to mention. But he had the pace to probably win a few titles, and just, I don't know, wasn't always there. And the last season plus the start of this one, he's been on it every single race. And if I'm going to say anyone will win China, I'd go with.
I think that's a very bold prediction, to be honest. Yeah, I've got to tend to agree there, to be honest. I think Harrison David has probably got the favourites' chances here in China. Obviously, him being championship leader as well as winning last season's title. I think he's got a fantastic chance of winning this, and it should be 2 wins from this season. Obviously, he has got, as I say, some, I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Competition, that's it. Competition in Montana and Rafa, obviously being in the top 3 of the standings as well. How do you rate your chances, Daka? Because obviously you're 5th in the standings, 20 points currently. You are drawing with YHYY for 4th. How do you think you're going to get on around China? Do you think you're going to do quite well and hopefully not lag out like you did in Bahrain?
I don't want to talk about Bahrain, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of the track myself. It's never been a particularly strong one for me, but I've just got to go out there, see what I can do, really. I know that 5th place in the standings is probably a bit flattering for me, if I'm going to be a bit modest there. There's certainly drivers that I'd say are quicker than me, that are behind me, which I'm quite proud of, that I'm able to be ahead of them, but I just want to try and... My strategy, basically, is just trouble in races. I know I've not got the best pace in the league, so I've basically the plan for China, just run a good strategy, try and stay out of trouble, and try and get some solid points, and that's what I want to keep doing throughout the season.
Yeah, obviously you've got 20 points, as I say, moving on into China. Juman Cantera behind you, I think, are the main dangers to you at this stage. I think Valtteri, if he attends as well, could prove to be quite an interesting competitor. One driver that is not attending though and did quite well in Bahrain, F1 racer. He's currently leading the PSGL F1 championship at this stage. If he starts attending to all the races, and obviously he is a reserve, so we may stress that a reserve driver really, I don't think, can't win the title, but there we go, that's my opinion on things. But he has got the pace. Where do you think you see him in a couple of races' time? Do you see him being up there? Because I think he is one of the best drivers on the grid, but hasn't got a full-time seat.
Well, as an interesting one, I'm blown away by his kind of resurging, because on the last game he had his moments, but from my experience racing him, he wasn't particularly quick. I'm not sure if you'd mind me saying that, but he certainly had that. He's just seems like a different man on this game. You know, he's in Bahrain. He showed that he could mix it up with some of the top guys in this league. You know, he was unlucky to lose out a little bit because of penalties in Bahrain, but that doesn't mean you can overlook him, because you know he is very quick on this game, and yeah, I would rate his chances pretty decently. But obviously, like you said, he's a reserve. You know, there's going to be races he's not attending, so that makes things a bit more tricky for him in terms of a championship challenge. But I think when he does show up, he can score some pretty solid points whenever he races.
Yeah, as I say, in the Discord he's put that he's not going to be attending, which is a shame. Valtteri, on the other hand, is going to be attending, and I have had a lot of experience commentating and racing against Valtteri as well. I think he's got an outstanding chance, possibly for top 5, I think, in China. Looking down the rest of the standings, though, is there anybody that you think's going to stand out because it's their favourite track in China? And I hate to say that, but why on earth would somebody like China as their favourite track? It is one of the worst tracks you could drive.
I'm offended.
Oh no.
It's not my favourite, but it's up there.
It's up there.
Anyway, it's up there. Purely because I'm good. Anyway, drivers that could probably do well here. Marquez is probably one of them. From past experience, he's normally been alright around China. So, he's normally alright around Bahrain, but he didn't turn up, so I'm not sure. Another one, I don't know about Rick, but he seems to be kind of... He's struggled since he's gone to Cockpit Cam, and he's not entirely with it yet. He's not entirely where he was in previous seasons, but it's only a matter of time, I reckon, till he gets that breakthrough result, and China could offer him that chance. Yeah, of course. 6 points to his name so far. Again, I think Rick is a likely outsider, possibly for top 5 finish. He has promised quite a lot, but hardly delivered it this season, just purely because the pace has been exceptional in Division 1. Anybody like to come in on anything? Because I'm struggling to find things to talk about here.
We've been going for a while. Yeah.
We have been going for a while, we have.
Wrap this up. Yeah.
Looking at... Well, obviously we'll give you a bit more detail on the Chinese Grand Prix, of course. There are a lot of corners around the track. I'm doing this, I'm speaking while I am looking for a track map here, so I do apologise.
16 corners.
16 corners. You're more prepared than me, thank God.
15 or 16, I'm not sure.
I've got the track map up now. There are 16 corners, yeah, so only the 2 DRS straights, of course, down the back straight between turns 13 and 14. 16 and on the start finish straight 16-1. Looking at that, DRS obviously is going to be a factor in terms of overtaking. How many overtakes do you think we're going to see? Do you think we're going to see them up and down the field for Division 1, or do you think it's going to be quite sparse and there's going to be like little pockets of battles throughout the race, like we have been experiencing, certainly in Hungary, I think it was, that we had that?
I don't know how this is going to play out, but overtaking, certainly look for a lot of overtakes going on end to turn. It's turn 14, is it? The hairpin?
Yeah, turn 14 hairpin, yeah.
Because that's the main overtaking point in the straight. Massive braking zone at the end of a kilometre-long. Yeah, that's going to be the key action zone. I feel like for this race. For the race, how it's going to play out in terms of whether it's pockets of battles or like up and down the field, it really depends on the early stages in the race. You know, incidents or battles in general is generally what separates drivers into groups. So in Hungary we had a lot of incidents, as much as I hate to say that, which kind of spread out the race in a way, kind of bunched it up into little groups. Well, there was a big gaps in some areas, but yeah, it really, the incidents that we get early on, I'd say, is we're going to get close battling or kind of a more spread out fields.
Yeah, I was to say, I think turn 14 obviously going to be one of those main factor points in the race for overtaking. Turn 6 as well, I think, is going to be quite an interesting one. End of the first sector, another little 90-degree hairpin at turn 6. I think that could be a main point, especially in the first half of the race. I think we're going to be seeing quite a few overtakes there, especially on lap 1 and 2. I think we're going to see quite a lot of action there. Anything else? Because I'm honestly really struggling. Let's predict the top 3 for the race. Why not? Top 3 for the race. RJ, right, because you're the most inexperienced out of us Division 1 lot, you're going to go first.
There you go. I'll go with Harrison first. I think I've already explained that, so and then I'll go Rafa second. But I'm not. Yeah. I'm not sure. Do I play safe and go Montana, or do I go someone outside of the top?
Go on, we can go wild and wacky.
Zoom.
Come on.
I'll go with Zoom third.
Zoom for third,
That's
yeah.
not that wild.
No.
Yeah, that's not a wild
Not
prediction, but yeah, Doom has shown the pace, obviously, and I think he's got a good chance. Daka, what about you? Obviously, you can't put yourself into things. Who do you think the top 3 is going to be?
I can.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. I mean, your disconnect last time out, if anybody will watch this later on, yeah, Daka had a disconnect in Bahrain, so his chances of winning this, probably 0 to 5%, I think.
Ouch.
Not to hurt you at all.
No,
there.
You're right.
Yeah, you've been ready.
Anyways, your top 3, Daka. Are you going to play it safe?
I'm gonna say I'm actually gonna go with Rafa first, because I'd like to see him get himself a bit closer to those top 3, and I think he's got the pace to do so. Second, I'll say Harrison, just a safe bet really. And third, we see that it's a bit tougher. I don't want to put those 3 in the top 3. But I think I'm going to have to. Montana's going to take third. There you go.
Interesting. I think, sadly, I'm going to be quite boring with my top 3. Harrison David to win. I think Montana is going to be second. I think he has got the pace and he loves China. It's one of his favourite tracks. And I think he's going to return to winning to second, like he did in Hungary. And third, may the real Marquez's step up. I think Marquez's could do a really great job. I've gone a bit wild and wacky. He has scored no points and he has been a bit inconsistent. But if he attends, I think Marquez's has got a hell of a chance for third place. And I'm going to have Marquez's over Rafa I think that's going to be 3rd and 4th. I know.
I want to change my choice now. Completely different.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah, I didn't think of
madness.
that.
Madness. The Division 1 commentator going for somebody that hasn't scored any points. Ridiculous. Terrible. Anyways, looking out at the standings currently as they are, who's your one to watch in China? RJ first. Who's your one to watch?
Jari.
Who?
Jari.
Jarry. Oh, ex-Jarry. Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Teammate.
Oh my god.
There are reasons.
Oh
There are
my
many
god.
reasons at China for him to be the one to watch.
Well, we'll have to see, of course, on Saturday. Daka, what about you? One to watch?
Well, after you made your prediction, I've got to go with Marquez's now, because I noticed that in another league he did have a very good showing at China, so it does seem to be a good track for him, and yeah, I think that is actually a really good shout, so he's going to be my one to watch.
Well, my one to watch is somebody that has been knocking on the door for a while, finished 3rd in Hungary, hasn't scored any points other than that. I think Cantera has got a great chance for a possible outlook at the top 3. He has obviously proved that his strategy is right up there, and I think if he plays the tactical game in China and manages his tyres well, Cantera will be one of the ones to watch. And I've got to throw in another one. I think Wouters, impressive debut last time out in Bahrain. I think he could do quite well as well. And I think that rounds us off for this evening for the League of Europe Division 1 podcast. Hopefully everyone has enjoyed tuning in. Of course, we are recording this as part of a video that will go up very soon. And I know I have just said that, so yeah, we can cut that bit. We can't cut that bit out, sadly. But from myself, from RJW, and from Daka, we bid you farewell. Thank you very much for watching this in due time for the League of One Division 1, the League of Europe Division 1 podcast. I swear I can't get my words out. But yeah, we will see you on Saturday, or I will see you on Saturday. Daka will as well. Hopefully his connection has fixed itself before then. Yeah, thank you very much. And until Saturday at the usual time of 6:45 with me in the helm, thank you very much.